Hello, so in this video I thought I'd look at the changes they're planning on making to the mobile anti-aircraft, and I've set it up to reflect how I think I'm going to use it once the changes come into effect. So instead of the 20mm cannon I'm using the 30mm. That is going to have the same range as the nerf 20mm cannon. They're not changing the 30mm at all. And I've got the active radar missiles, which as you can see there's already 4 of those rather than the 6 you get for some of the others. So this should be pretty reflective setup of how the mobile AA is going to work after the patch. I think a lot of people are going to change to the 30mm rather than the 20, because if it's got the same range, okay, it's got a slower rate of fire, but it's got a much higher damage rate, and it's more effective against other forms of vehicles, and it's more effective against infantry. So you're going to lose a bit of anti-air power, but you gain quite a lot of utility. Now I play in the mobile AA a bit different to how I see a lot of people playing. I don't go out hunting with the mobile AA. You see a lot of people driving it across the map. What I try and do is control a section of the airspace. So in this map I don't move the mobile AA away from B. You see a lot of people who drive it off into nowhere. What I do is try and keep it on B, so we keep this point held, and try and keep air away from A and B, and you can often help out at C and D. But if you trundle the AA up and down this little road, keeping the front towards their spawn, you're in a really good position. The threats on this map are from the air and from infantry, and you can use this building on the right and the buildings on the left to block locks, and you can stay on this point, help out your team, play the objective so to speak. And if you trundle back round here, you can basically shoot into all these buildings, and you can shoot into the back of the other buildings. Now they're nerfing the active missiles to make them require more skill to lock on, so they're reducing the cone at which they find enemy vehicles. But spamming these things into an area at massive long ranges isn't a good idea anyway. If you want to be accurate with these things, what you should be doing is pretty much predicting where they're going in the first place. So in this map you've got a view of where their helicopters are spawning, so you can fire at them as they fly towards the islands, and you've got a very predictable path. On maps like Langsang Dam, I like to move it up in between E and D, or up towards A, depending on which side I'm on, so that I can keep those objectives covered and basically defend your gimme objectives, and keep an eye on C across the water, because usually the way of getting to C is rib boats or helicopters, and the AA is really good at dealing with those. So as you can see, AA missiles are pretty lethal. The active works really well, and the 30mm will chew up things like rib boats and helicopters and pretty much anything but a tank. Even against an infantry fighting vehicle, you've got a reasonable chance in the AA if you see them first and use your active defense at the right time. So as you can see, I like to be pretty accurate with the active missiles anyway. I tend not to lob them just out across a map like you see a lot of people doing. Yeah, you can get the random kills with that, but you're not really playing your percentages well. It's like a TV missile. You know, you can lob a TV missile right across the map at an icon, hoping to hit what's at the other end. But you're much better firing at something you've got a really good spot on and know where it is. So these helicopters, you know, are coming towards me, and that's the advantage of staying at B. If you drive off around the map, you basically lose a lot of your positioning, and it's a lot less predictable where the infantry are going to appear from. So the other map you can use the mobile A on a lot is Golmud Railway, and again I think the best option on there is to stay near one of the start spawns. So there is a temptation to go up towards the cluster of 3 at the top, which is, oh, is that A, B and C at the top of Golmud Railway? I can't remember. Now you can do that. It's easier to do if you're coming at the map from the right, because there's a nice hill that you can shade behind. But there's also a couple of large electricity pylons, and they are really good to shade behind. It stops the jets from trying to ram you, or the helicopters. You can duck behind them, and there's a pretty good chance that any missiles that get fired at you are going to hit them. As for the rest of the loadout for this thing, active protection is pretty much a must. You know, you're going to get targeted by jets and helicopters and attack boats, and pretty much anything is going to go for the mobile AA. So the active protection can get you out of trouble pretty quick, and you're probably going to want reactive, because that's going to reduce some of the damage as well. So there we managed to deal with that boat, which fortunately they beached. So yeah, I don't think the nerfing that the AA is going to receive is going to affect it greatly. I think it's going to change its role slightly. It is going to become more of a utility than anti-air, but once you've got used to using the 30s rather than the 20s and losing some of the range, the AA is going to be used for what it should be doing, which is holding down a point and keeping the anti-air away from one region of the map. If you can keep the enemy's helicopters and jets from coming around your side of the map, or not wanting to because of the risk that they know you're there, then it gives your helicopters and jets somewhere to run away from. You know, it lets your jets know that they're safe at your end of the map, and if they bring the jet that's after them towards you, you can help them deal with it. And it lets your helicopters, you know, have somewhere to run back to and repair up. It also means that you're going to keep your points easier. If you keep the points on your end of the map and you're fighting over their points, you know, you've got a much better chance of winning the round. We've probably all experienced the helicopter dropping onto your base, or the point closest to your base, and you discover then that you're being swarmed from in front and from behind, as half the enemy team spawns behind you. Now that's where I see the mobile A has been able to stop. It stops the helicopter drops, and it stops the jets roaming around your side of the map, destroying your armour before they can get out into the fight. Now I can see there being future nerfs to the mobile AA, and I can see its damage against infantry being reduced, and there's probably a good reason for that. I think it deserves it. Infantry are this thing's biggest threat, to be honest. Tanks, and other vehicles you can run away from, infantry can sneak up on you, and that's how I'm about to die, to a good old RPG from close range to a guy behind a building. If you're looking in the sky, you can't really look at the infantry, and I get crept up on. And I should have realised because the flag started burning, and I realised too late. So I spot those two and take them out. You can see this thing chews up infantry, but I'm quite damaged and I don't pay enough attention to the rest of the infantry around me. So is the mobile AA still going to be a powerhouse after the nerf? Yeah, it is. It's still going to be very good. It's not going to have the range, but it's still going to have the killing power, and aircraft are still going to hate it and whine about it. Thanks for watching.